things. We know that the mayor's going to be pushing back even before she brings us her budget because there are a lot of requests and money's tight. So anyway, so thank you for your comments. The other thing I want to share is we've got every year or so around this time, we have some of our water districts who need us to send in names to the governor for board appointments. And so we're going to have Lauren put this on our social media, but the council is turning these names into the governor in November. And so we've got a board position for Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District that will be available. The candidate must live in Murray, South Salt Lake, Willow Creek, or White City area for that one. And then we have 2 positions with the Central Utah Water Conservancy District, and you have to be a resident of Salt Lake County for those. So if you know of anybody who's interested, we do have some incumbents of these that are interested in running again or being appointed again, but we do need to submit 3 names per position. And so we're always looking for anybody who's interested. But you can email Isaac Hyam, Hyam, Higham at saltlakecounty.gov with your interest and your resume if you're interested. And that needs to be sent to him by October 10th. So thanks.
Thank you. Any other council members that would like to comment this time or online? Okay. I'll just make a quick comment. I did attend, well, we had a couple of things. There was a Korean festival at the University of Utah that I was invited to, which was a really great event that they had there. Lots of culture, lots of Korean vendors and food and all kinds of fun stuff. Lots of ramen, so it was fun. And then we did have the reopening of the Murray Theater as well. So I popped in there kind of last minute. I know the mayor was there and some other council members. So it was really fun to listen to Lauren Allred as she sang that evening. So it's really pretty. It's revived and rejuvenated theater. So go check it out. And then we did put out a statement, a council together. And I'm just going to read a couple of them. We actually put out 2, but the first one is in regards to the passing of Russell M. Nelson, and I'll read that. So this states, the Salt Lake County Council expresses our deepest condolences on the passing of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints President Russell M. Nelson. His life and service have left a lasting mark on countless individuals, and we honor his leadership and legacy. Our prayers go out to his family and the members at this time. We also did another statement in regards to the horrific shooting at one of the ward houses in Michigan. And so I'll read that as well. So this is a joint statement as well. And we are heartbroken by the tragic events at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Michigan. It's hard to believe our nation is facing another unbearable tragedy. Our deepest condolences go out to the victims, their families, and the communities impacted by this senseless act of violence. Houses of worship are meant to be places of refuge, peace, prayer, and connection. As leaders of Salt Lake County, we reaffirm our commitment to building communities grounded in safety, kindness, and mutual respect. Violence is never the answer. We pray for those who are grieving and express our deep appreciation for the various law enforcement agencies who are working to find answers. Lastly, we add our voices to the growing call for peace, healing, and unity across the nation. And I think that's all I have. So if there's no other council members like to comment, I'll turn it over to County Mayor Andrew.
Actually, Madam Chair, I just wanted to say thank you for getting us on record with these statements. We appreciated being included, and I think it is important to recognize the events and the passing of obviously the leader of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So thank you for bringing that forward and making sure we are on record with that.
Yeah, thank you. It's been interesting. I feel like there's a lot of attention on Utah and our culture, the religion right now. So anyway, I'm glad that we're able to stand united. So I appreciate it. Andrew.
Yeah, all right, bear with me because this was written in the first person and I am not Mayor Wilson. So, but I do want to, the mayor wanted to touch on the tragedy over the weekend as well. It was a difficult one, as you know, for many in our community, and she echoes the sentiments that were expressed by the council in their statements. She would say that it's hard to believe that the nation is facing another unbearable tragedy, and she joins you all in asking for peace, healing, and unity. We did, have some exciting news this last week that we wanted to share. Liz Solis, who I don't think is in here right, all the way up in the back. Liz was awarded the 2025 Utah Public Information Officer Association's Excellent in Media Relations Award. So thank you. It's a testament to her leadership and her efforts to, tell the story of local government and to be a good and reliable point of contact for the press and constituents and other agencies that are interested in knowing what's going on in our county government. Liz, always goes the extra mile to make sure the public understands what the government's doing. And she's professional and brings a fun, lively demeanor to the office and to the county, and so couldn't appreciate her more. Along the lines of championing women, Mayor Wilson is pleased to announce that Salt Lake County has been selected as one of Utah's 100 companies championing women 2025 cohort. This initiative is led by the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity and the Utah Women in Leadership Project. It recognizes workplaces that offer family-friendly policies and practices, as well as efforts known to impact the recruiting, hiring, and advancement of women. We look forward to highlighting this recognition on our website and in recruitment efforts. Most importantly, to continuing to demonstrate that Salt Lake County champions women. Additionally, continuing in the theme of award news, Clark Planetarium just received an award for Best Film Launched by a Theater at the Giant Screen Cinema Association Conference for their Shark Summer launch of the IMAX film Shark Kingdom. Sounds like a good one. Okay, we, as many of you know, had Judge Steve Leifman in town. He was here to conduct a series of interviews and observations with key external stakeholders. They met with dozens of local leaders and had many in-depth, fruitful conversations that will inform their work and improve and advance our efforts in the behavioral health, human services, and criminal justice spaces. As a reminder, last week was just the beginning of our involvement with the Leifman Group. They are hosting virtual interviews this week with additional external stakeholders, and we look forward to, after that fact-finding effort has taken place, bringing Judge Leifman, to you here at the council here in a few months, and we're preparing a briefing now with more details and outcomes that will preempt those meetings and hopefully get everybody geared up in a place where we can make the best use of our time. An update on ZAP. Last week, the ZAP review process was completed, and preliminary notifications for Tier 2 applicants went out Wednesday. Our Tier 1 zoological all-day review meeting was on Thursday. We could not have done this without the amazing ZAP advisory board members who spend countless hours dedicated to this work. We want to thank them. Adult and Aging Services also had an event. It was Salt Lake County's Fall Prevention Coalition, which includes Aging and Adult Services, the Health Department, and Intermountain Health, as well as other partners. It hosted its annual Strong and Steady Falls Prevention event recently. The event drew approximately 80 to 100 attendees and provided older adults and caregivers with resources, screenings, and education to reduce fall risks and support healthy aging. And with that, that completes the mayor's update. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Sure. If I may, I have a comment on behalf of the district attorney.
You bet.
We would like to invite everybody on the county council, as well as all of the independent elected officials and the mayor, to the 18th annual Red Mass for Justice. It will be held this Friday, October 3rd at noon at the Cathedral of the Madeleine. As many of you know, the Red Mass is held annually in celebration of justice. It honors judges, attorneys, police officers, and all involved in the legal profession, as well as the system of justice. There'll be a civic celebration held after the Mass, and we invite everyone to attend. I'll be sending an email to all of your policy advisors, as well as the elected officials after today's council.
Thank you. Any other elected county officials that would like to give comment? Hi, Sheriff.
Hello, good afternoon. Just a few things. I did update the council on the kitchen remodel a couple of weeks ago. Just wanted to let you know we were scheduled to be good to go, and then always something happens. So now we have a new date. It's October 6th. So we had some small things that have held it up, but we do believe by October 6th, everything will be ready to go. And there may be some additional costs because of the delay, but I will come back here and let you know what those are if that does happen where we need additional funding. And then we have been in a process with the National Commission on Correctional Health Care. It's a where they come in and similar to an audit, they go through the jail and make sure that we meet all their standards. And they're finally, they completed their review, and they did give us accreditation again. And they provided a letter that congratulated us, and it just says that the leaders of the organization are providing a nationally accepted standard in our jail, and they were very happy to accredit our jail with their accreditation. So it's a big deal. I think we're one of only maybe 2 in the whole state, if that, who get this accreditation. So we're really proud of that. And then last week, myself and the undersheriff attended the Major County Sheriffs of America conference in Dallas. And the hot topics, of course, across the nation are safety and security of our communities and our employees and our elected officials. There happened to be a shooting at the ICE facility just nearby where we were at, and it just brought back, you know, how important that we need to be prepared. It could happen anywhere in the country. We happened to be in Dallas when that occurred, but it happens all over the country, and then Michigan shortly after that. So just so you know, we are continually working on how we can better process, and improve our processes. And then last week also, we attended the Utah Sheriff's Association conference, and there we attended their awards ceremony, and there were 4 awards that the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office received. They received the Deputy Sheriff of the Year award that went to Deputy Franchow for his efforts in coordinating search and rescue. And these are all the sheriffs throughout the state of Utah who submit individuals for these awards. So that was a big award. Also a life-saving medal to Deputy Jerry Jacobson. This was a situation on Mount Olympus where there was suicidal. He was able to talk with this individual, get him off the mountain safely, and even after that, he helped him get a job interview and move forward with his life. So it didn't just stop that day. He's continued to be part of this individual's life. And then we also received, Deputy Cody Pender received a Purple Heart. He works in the Metro Gang Unit. They were going after a violent gang member where the suspect deliberately drove into Detective Pender, running him over. Detective Pender received seriously bodily injury, but he also got back up and apprehended the suspect. So I think his adrenaline kicked in on that one. And then lastly, we received the Gold Medal of Valor. You may remember Deputy Maloney Latui passed away last January. Him and his girlfriend were out on a lake. It was icy. They fell through the ice. He saved her life, but wasn't able to save his own. His 3-year-old son attended and accepted that award for him. So it was really quite the emotional award ceremony, I can say, but well deserved as well. And that's my update, and I can answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the update, and thanks for all you do. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll move on to our consent.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move approval of items 4.1 through 6.2, and they include council meeting minutes for 2 weeks.
Okay,
I'll second.
great. Motion and a second to approve consent. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. We'll move on to our work session. Starting with item 7.1, informational update on the proposed hire report, incentive plans, 3,000 and under, and weekly reclassification report. Our presenter is Hua Wen, our council budget and policy analyst. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This last week, we have 24 positions listed. There's one incentive plan from Community Services for $800. The plan is for their former office administrator to help onboard, train, and support a new office administrator through the end of the year. We also have one vacant reclassification from the auditor's office. They reclassify a fiscal coordinator to a tax admin assistant in the same grade. Does the council have any questions on those?
Questions for Hua? Okay, no?
This week, we also have one incentive plan over 3,000 from Public Work, Operations, and Flood Control. The plan is for all employees involved in snow removal. Although the plan is only up to 3,000 for each employee, but some of them was also part of the 24-25 snow removal plan. So they could potentially receive more than 3,000 in 2025.
Okay, questions for Hua? Okay, seek approval.
Motion to approve.
Have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. 7.3.
Thank you. Budget adjustment 7.3, the DA's office requests recognition of 92,000 in additional one-time funding from the state. Of that amount, 78,000 is to cover lease payments for the YWCA space used by the Children's Justice Center North, and the remaining 14,000 is to help offset anticipated cuts to the VOCA grant next year.
All right, any questions on this item? Okay, entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. 7.4.
In 7.4, Public Works requests recognition of an additional about 4.7 million in sales tax revenue and Class B road funds for unincorporated Salt Lake County. These funds will be passed through to the MSD.
All right, any questions on this one?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, motion and a second to approve item 7.4. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes.
Thank you. The last budget adjustment, 7.5. So back in April, Youth Services had 2 capital projects that were approved as part of the 8 high priority projects in the Capital Improvement Fund. But because the work of the 2 projects is adjacent to each other and of the same nature, so in this budget adjustment, they request to combine the 2 projects together to improve efficiency in design, bidding, and construction. So this is budget neutral.
Great. Any questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion and a second to approve item 7.5. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Okay, moving on to item 7.6, informational presentation on the mainframe migration projects. Presenter, Zach Posner, Chief Information Officer, Trevor Hebditch, sorry, I hope I'm saying that right. Associate Director, Enterprise. Is everybody here with you, or is it just you?
Me
online?
and we'll have Richard from the
Okay.
Auditor's Office and Stuart Tsai and a few others
Okay,
will be popping
wonderful.
up throughout.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it's been a long time since we've, I'm sorry? Oh, thank you. It's been quite a while since we've given an update on the mainframe migration project. So we want to come down here and give you an overview of where this has been. There's a number of new members of the council. So I'll thank you for your patience on what might be the nerdiest thing you have to go through today. When you
Sorry to interrupt, but it looks like you had hair back then, Zach.
I would not have been born in this picture, but thank you. There was a time when I had hair. So when people think about a mainframe, this is probably the image they have in their head, these giant reel-to-reel systems. And we owned these back in the day, down in a basement somewhere. But modern mainframes are a real thing. Let's see, it's quicker. There we are. So modern mainframes do everything from banking, AI, cloud computing. If you have received a notification about a credit card charge within a few seconds of paying for something, that's because a mainframe was behind that. They're actually pretty amazing, incredibly robust systems, but they're massive overkill for a county of this size. And so we've spent the better part of the last 30-ish years, 35 years, trying to move away from the mainframe into a more open systems environment. In terms of the value of doing that, we have a massive risk of system failure because we're really dependent on one large monolith. And a lot of that code was developed before I was even born by folks who work for Salt Lake County. We have a dependency on a skill set that is really, really difficult to find. If you're a large bank, if you're running billions of transactions an hour, you can afford those skill sets and you can afford to train for them. But here in Salt Lake County, those folks really just don't exist anymore. And then there's the system flexibility, right? We have statutory compliance issues every year. We have needs to give people access or changes to tax rates or notices of valuation. These things have to be updated constantly, and it's really not a very flexible system for that. So unfortunately, I have to start out with a little bit of a history lesson, and I like visuals. Sorry. This is the original stencils from 1975, the year I was born, and it includes workflow diagrams inside. If anyone ever wants to look at this, I keep it in my office as a reminder, going all the way back to 1975 of what the tax process operations of the mainframe are. And back then, we chose the mainframe as the system to run everything. It was payroll, it was case management for the sheriff's office, it was tax administration. Then about 35 years ago, and Mark Evans, who many of you probably remember, who just retired, once turned to me and said, the day he started, he was a mainframe operator. The guy who was sitting next to him told him he was an idiot for taking the job because we were getting off the mainframe within a couple of years. 35 years later, he retired. And we're still using that system. About 15 years ago, serious efforts to move our tax system off the mainframe began. And that was largely what we called at the time the Harris Project. The Harris Project spent about 8 to 10 years and ultimately didn't deliver much. And part of that was their approach. Part of it was that it was a very singular monolithic system. We could spend hours talking about the challenges with that project. But then about 7 years ago, we canceled that project. We gave up on it. And we said, look, let's split this out into a series of projects targeted at each of the individual tax offices. So you have Puma for the assessor's office, which I believe you've been updated on separately. There's other systems for the recorder's office, Darwin, other things. And then specifically around the treasurer and auditor's office, we instituted what we call the Taurus Project. And that had some fits and starts, but what we're going to hear about today is some of the successes we've had and how that's now going. So with that, I think I'm turning this part over to Richard.
It is funny that the presenters weren't born when this started. Okay, so as Zach mentioned, there's a lot that's on the mainframe. It's not just the tax offices. but we're going to talk a little bit more about the tax offices. So we've had some successes recently with, we call these kind of modules or different aspects. With ownership, we can start a tax year. We actually had a huge accomplishment the other day. We ran our first notice evaluation on the new Taurus system. Not perfect, but hey, we got a draft. We've got numbers, they align. We've made some progress. We're also looking at other options outside of Taurus. I think we've talked to you guys before about in the BOE, you can appeal online, the charitable or religious educational exemptions. We have a web portal. So we're getting more and more off of the mainframe. And Zach hit on Puma and Darwin, which are the assessor and recorder's offices. What we've discovered, and I think this came to light like 3 recorders ago when Darwin was developed, they developed it, it worked for the recorder's office, and they said, well, we don't care if it, well, I'm gonna put words in their mouth and they're not here to dispute it, but we did our part, you guys figure out how to make it integrate. Well, that was a big lesson that all these pieces need to integrate. Addressing, that's, I believe in Megan's portfolio, get all the addresses for every single property. Well, that's got to integrate back to us so that we can mail notices and the tax bill ultimately. And making sure we also have the right people in the leadership role. Right now, I always get it mixed up, but I'm the sponsor, or am I the owner and Stuart's the owner, sponsor? I don't know.
Stuart's the owner, you're the sponsor.
Okay. So Stuart, we're going to brag about Stuart here in a minute. Well, right now, for a minute or two. Stuart is our tax division administrator, lawyer, our resident lawyer. But I think Stuart understands the tax system better than almost anybody in the county. He understands how the calculations, he understands how the tax increment financing, he understands when the recorder does a parcel, tax sale, like everything. So he's the right guy to be in charge of this, because even though Taurus is the treasurer and the auditor, there's still other pieces, and we've got to just make sure. Well, for the auditor, we deliver to the treasurer what they need. The assessor delivers what we need. And then we've been really, really focusing on delivery. We have sprints, and we even have what I called super sprints. So it's like, we're gonna let's just see how far we can get here in this next little bit. And we are getting great progress, probably for the first time, I'd say in the last year and a half. And one thing we wanted to talk about, we've hit that this is 50-year-old technology. It's a big risk to our tax system if the mainframe were to go down. And it's very difficult to hire people. And I know we always talk about, there's one person, I'm not going to mention her name, but if she retired, whatever hair Zach has left would be gone, because she is a critical piece. Like, there are so many meetings where we're waiting for this. We have this one employee who understands this ancient technology, and I think there's days that she's told she can't be sick because everything depends on her. So I want to take a minute to talk about the consequences if we didn't have this. We couldn't collect taxes. And it's not just impacting Salt Lake County. It would impact every city, school district, special service district. Is about $2 billion. And that is auditor, treasurer, statutory obligation. In theory, I guess it's the county's obligation as well. And then that money gets distributed, and that'll all happen within this Taurus system of the auditor's office calculates the rate, calculates how much when you pay your property bill, and then the treasurer collects it and then distributes it out.
So I'm going to speak briefly to some of the things we're doing to mitigate that risk, because it is a big one. I'm sure many of us would like to pay fewer taxes, but I think the system going down shouldn't be the path that we go through there. So first, of course, is the Taurus project and the Tapia project, which is an offshoot of it. And those are the projects to get us off as quickly as possible, so that we can retire that mainframe in a graceful way. Taurus is, as I said, sort of the auditor and treasurer piece. Separate from that, Tapia is this catch-all project for making sure we don't leave anything behind, so that when we throw that switch and turn it off, nobody screams, and we don't end up with a massive failure because there was just some really important thing that someone has been using for 30 plus years and we forgot about. So how are we managing that risk until we get to an end date? There's two things, and it's really a belt and suspenders, and I want to be really transparent about that. I have the last one, which I'll talk about, which is internal training. For years, we tried to just hire mainframers. And what we found was that many of those folks were so close to retirement that by the time they really got up to speed, they were, one foot was out the door anyhow. And they'd learned on systems at Zions Bank or at the U, and so they're ready to move on. So what we've done instead in the past, I would say year and a half, that's been really successful, is taking folks from our service desk who are interested in learning, who are new in their careers, and we're training them on how to be mainframers. And we basically made a commitment to them that help us shepherd this through to the end, and then we'll find another position for you in IT, because smart people who understand our tax system are going to be useful forever, regardless of what system that is. Separately, we're making a request this year to have a managed services organization, basically a third party, come in and provide third party support for the system as a whole, so that if we do have a critical retirement, we'll be able to keep it going and maintain it until Taurus can fully take over those systems. So that's the risk management piece in a nutshell. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Stuart and then Trevor Hebditch on my team to discuss sort of where Taurus is at, the successes and failures we've had, and then the Tapia piece as well. Thanks.
Hi, so Taurus, again, as has already been stated, Taurus is, again, initially it was to replace all the tax system, all the functionality of the mainframe, but it was narrowed a little bit to include primarily auditor and treasurer responsibilities. So my role, and this was about 18 months ago, as the product owner, is really just to make sure IT, the Taurus team, the developers know what to develop, that they know what we want and what we need. And I think that somehow was a little bit lacking before. And the main thing we did, and this is on the next, wrong direction. So the main thing we did was basically scratch the roadmap we had prior. So there were some reasons for this, but prior to that, the team had decided to develop the end. You probably can't see it here, but at the end, they started to develop tax sale and delinquency first, which is really the end of the process. And so that very, very quickly grew increasingly complex. And I think everyone started to realize that starting at the end first caused a lot of problems because it relied on everything that hadn't been developed yet before to replace it. And so basically we scratched that and we decided, well, let's follow a more natural approach and start at the beginning of the tax cycle and develop from the beginning to the end. And that in itself, I think, has been one of the big causes for the reason development has accelerated over the past 18 months. I think, as has been mentioned, some of the results we've seen, some of these first things, we've integrated with the recorder system, Darwin, to receive parcel information and ownership information. We've integrated with the assessor to receive the tax roll. We've created the ability for auditor to input the tax rates and create the tax areas so that we can calculate taxes. All that has already been done now, which is basically the foundation of the tax system has already been complete. So going forward over the next year, well, the project is to 2028, but next year we hope to go live with the notice evaluation. So the auditor will send the notice evaluation through Taurus. So yeah, well, full implementation is scheduled for 2028. My hope is that that date will be pretty anticlimactic because we'll be releasing features little piece by piece throughout this whole project. And so by the end, it's not going to be a big bang because everything will have already been done over the next 3 years. And again, this is just the auditor and treasurer responsibilities, and I'll let Trevor talk about the broader project of Tapia.
Thank you. So if I get this one correct, no, I did the same, back the wrong way. Okay, my name is Trevor Hebditch. I'm the Associate Director of Enterprise Architecture for under ZAC. That's a weird title, it doesn't really mean a lot, but I generally take over and look after special projects or large projects. In this case, I started to work on this one about 2 years ago, and one of my jobs is to look at architecture and redesign systems. So at that point, we started to work with Stuart more effectively and the offices to really see how we could accelerate this project. And we saw it as being two areas. The first area is, as Zach and Stuart have mentioned, around the auditor and treasurer and their part of it. The second part of it, we initiated another project called Tapia. Forgive me, that's my name. And I know everybody wants to change it, but it's Tapia at the moment. This project is looking at everything else. So how does Puma work with the mainframe? How do we get off of the mainframe from that perspective? Darwin or all the other offices, what are those other pieces which exist, which we also need to move off the mainframe? And that was what I've basically been doing, is coordinating that effort of getting everything else off. Plus, I'm also responsible for Taurus as well from an IT perspective. So my brief is to sort of make sure that we have everything off the mainframe by the time that Taurus gets fully delivered, if not before. And also look at ways that it's accelerating the project so we can deliver it even faster. So we have an excellent IT team under Zach's guidance and my leadership, which is delivering this. But we also recognize there's other ways of doing this. For example, we're working with the Treasurer's Office on using GIS services around delinquencies, or we're looking at other ways of using artificial intelligence to speed up the process of development and testing. In fact, we recently just identified that we've gained 80% productivity in testing through adopting AI technologies. So we're really looking at ways in which we can accelerate and improve the way in which we're delivering the project, while at the same time minimizing risks through things like managed services. And that basically states what the Tapia project is and what we're doing overarching. So I'll allow Zach now to finish up. Thank you.
Really, with that, we'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions from council?
I was just going to say thanks for all your work on this. We really appreciate you guys. And Stuart, you can never leave. Like, it sounds like you're stuck here at the county because we can't do without you. So anyway, and so many others. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, I greatly appreciate the support we've had from council, and in particular the support we've had from elected offices. They've really held us to account. They've been highly critical of the work, as they should be, and they've also been tremendous at supporting the efforts. And so I really give a lot of credit to them. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. This seems very tedious and intense and way over my head, but I mean, I just learned today how impactful it was switching from Granicus to Civic Plus. So, I mean, that was a big lift too. So I can imagine what you're doing is just as big or bigger. So probably way bigger. So appreciate all your work. So thanks.
Thank you so much.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to item 7.7. This is an informational presentation from Salt Lake County Clerk's Office. Our clerk, Leonie Chapman, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Looks like the slide deck is coming up perfect. Thank you guys for this opportunity. Is that better? Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Leonie Chapman. I'm the Salt Lake County Clerk. I know all of you, but for those in TV land, My organization is, I have two divisions in my organization. One is my marriage and passports and council clerk, and then, of course, my election division. My team's number one goal is to serve Salt Lake County citizens pursuant to state and federal law. Our hope is to make services that we offer, election administration, marriage licenses, marriage ceremonies, passport acceptance, and council minutes available in a transparent, efficient, and secure way so that Salt Lake County residents can trust the process and feel confident working with us. This presentation, of course, is not going to be all-encompassing. I have worked very mindfully. I think Sheldon will be happy about this, to keep it under 15 minutes so that we have a lot of time for questions. But I really encourage you all to come to my office. If you have time, I would love to have you guys officiate some weddings. If you have more time, come down and help us actually process ballots, or take part, as council chair has done many times, in some of the pre-audits, post-audits of the elections. I really appreciate it. And even though we're not the Board of Canvassers for these elections, I will be encouraging you and inviting you to come do a tour once we're up and running with the selection, to come see the process. I think it's a lot of fun. Myself and my team take a lot of pride in what we do, and I would love to show it off to all of you. So first, let's talk about my marriage and passport and council clerk division. So 77% of my budget is dedicated to our most valuable resources, our employees, and the remaining is operations and overhead. Our council clerk and marriage and passports division have 13 FTEs combined, and we have fortunately remained fully staffed with long-term employees. I think my longest term employee's been here for close to 27 years. So the experience they have is tremendous. I'm not asking for any new requests for these divisions. But what I'd like to make sure that you guys are aware of is my marriage and passports division will meet, if not surpass, our 2025 budgeted revenue. We bring into the county more than $900,000. This revenue is from marriage licenses, administrative fees, passport administrative fees, passport photos, and marriage ceremonies. I was asked to talk about kind of our successes and what keeps us up at night. So I'm going to talk first about not necessarily what keeps me up at night, but what I wake up at 3 in the morning freaking out about, because as a mom, that's what I do. Since bringing on a second ceremony room, we have been able to increase the number of ceremonies we perform. During our busier times, we routinely have both ceremony rooms in operation at the same time. To properly assist our customers, we have instituted an appointment schedule. This allows customers the ability to pick a convenient time for them. We still do receive walk-ins, and we do assist them between our appointments when time permits. While we always have appointments available, our passport and ceremony appointments seem to be scooped up first. Meeting customer demand is something that weighs on me. If we had more hours in the day, more team members, we would be able to help out more. During my administration, we have observed a significant increase in customers who come in primarily speaking Spanish. Currently, nearly 40% of those served in my marriage and passport office are Spanish speakers. To ensure they understand the legal forms required for marriage licenses and passport applications, we have made it a priority to provide clear communication and some more support throughout the process. So some of our really big successes: as of August of this year, we've issued over 6,700 marriage licenses and performed over 2,200 marriage ceremonies, with approximately 40% of those being conducted in Spanish. On the passport side, we've received over 6,100 passport applications and sold nearly 4,500 passport photos. Based on this activity, we anticipate meeting our budgeted revenue of $920,000 from the marriage and passport division. To break it down even further, this equates to about 300 ceremonies, 850 marriage licenses, 832 passport applications, 600 passport photos per month. And if we continue this trend, again, we will exceed last year's numbers. So we are We are really doing well. We are serving our community, and it shows. Now let's talk about elections, maybe. Thank you. My other division is elections office. Our elections office consists of 19 FTEs. We currently have no vacancies. As you can see from the slide, nearly half of our budget is dedicated to our election heroes who work tirelessly to ensure we have accurate voter rolls, successful elections, and a knowledgeable team who can assist voters and candidates alike. Further, nearly 75% of the operations budget is earmarked for overhead and our specific statutory duties we legally have to do, including printing our voter information cards, address confirmations, voter registration forms, software licensing, postage, and equipment maintenance. Since elections differ so much between odd and even years, we consider elections to be a different specific event for which we submit different decision packages. As you know, during even years, I am the election official for administering the elections, and you guys are the Board of Canvassers. In 2026, the elections decision package is on par with what we've requested in even years in the past. 88% of the package is already accounting for, with 17% of that going towards staffing and overtime so that we have enough hands to help us with the election season. 55% of that package is earmarked for printing and postage alone. An additional 16% is software, data services, safety services, and election equipment, transportation, which we absolutely need to have to ensure we have accurate and efficiencies in administering the elections. Decision packages, as you know, differ between odd and even years because in odd years, like this year, I am not the election official. That statutorily is either the municipality or the special service district. In odd years, we offer to contract with municipalities and service districts to administer their election and pass through those costs associated with them based on actual expenses incurred in conducting those elections. So again, what kind of keeps us up at night? Our major challenges revolve around meeting our statutory duties, particularly when we're inundated with numerous unfunded new laws that affect election administration. During this last legislative session alone, 20 bills became laws that impact both election law and administration. The most significant changes include the manual verification of the last 4 digits of an ID on all by-mail ballots, shifting from automatic mail ballots to an opt-in system, changing ballot return deadlines from postmark date to ballot in hand on election night, additional requirements for verifying candidate packets, and increased daily reconciliation requirements. Many of these changes are designed to enhance transparency and security in our elections, and several provide meaningful improvements to the process. However, our operational capacity has been surpassed by the volume and complexity of these new requirements. With 20 new laws impacting election administration this year alone, refining the processes and achieving efficiencies has become extremely challenging. Between elections, my team continuously works to improve our procedures while maintaining accuracy, security, and compliance. During elections, preparation is critical. Our successes depend on being 100% ready to implement these new processes flawlessly. The reality is that our current resources are insufficient to keep up with pace on the ongoing statutory changes, and additional support is essential to maintain the integrity, transparency, and efficiency our community expects. Other things I get to think about at 3 a.m. I think about my team all the time, their safety, their success, and frankly, their burnout. The idea that there is downtime between elections, frankly, is not true. The amount of tasks that we legally have to do has increased beyond election season and thereby limit when my team has the ability to take planned time off. I asked so much of my team, from creating and proofing the ballot, including ensuring correct contests and questions are on the proper ballot style, including our nearly 1,000 precincts, getting election results in quickly, running countywide change of addresses to ensure that we have up-to-date addresses prior to every election, to packet petition voter signature verification, to daily voter registration updates and new voter registration forms. Regardless of the size of the election, we have to do all the same pre- and post-election testing and planning, and this takes many hands. We have plans, we have to plan always for a recount, tiebreakers, court contests, and the past 3 years, we have at least received one recount or tiebreaker after at least one election each year. We utilize significant overtime during busy election seasons, as legislative changes have made ballot processing significantly more complex. Last year alone, my team clocked in over 5,000 hours of overtime alone last year. Temporary workers can only ease so much of the burden because of the deep knowledge required to fulfill many of the tasks and the supervisory capability needed to support them. Again, with the size of my team, we cannot sustain all of the new requirements. We are facing serious burnout, and we are working as efficiently as we can. I cannot lose the expertise my team has acquired. We need to add to our full-time team. The final thing I get to think about at 3 a.m., I don't know why it's always 3 a.m. I don't know about you guys, but that's when I wake up. It's 3 a.m. in a panic, thinking about something, and I have a little sketch pad next to my bed to write down all of the things I'm freaking out about. But I think about our election equipment. Election equipment has an expected lifetime of about 10 years. We are currently between 4 and 9 years with all of our equipment. Due to the recent federal executive order and expected state legislative changes, we are in the process of figuring out what is best for Salt Lake County and how to best save for the inevitable replacement cost of our major election equipment. We have been in discussions with the mayor's finance team and Dave Del Quadro. I will bring you more information as we get it and always keep you in the loop. So, the largest of my, can you go back one? Yeah, thank you. The largest of my decision packages, which I've already touched on, is the 2026 election decision package. We'll be administering 2 elections next year, the primary and the general. By law, it's the clerk's responsibility to administer and process these elections. The decision package is essential to ensuring we have sufficient staffing and resources to fulfill our statutory duties. The decision package for 2026 is just a little over $4.1 million. While this is on par with even year elections, this request reflects inflationary pressures and significant impact of new legislative requirements. We have additional election staffing needs. The legislative changes are the primary driver behind our staffing request. Beginning next year, ballot processing is projected to require an additional 3,110 hours. That's because what used to take us about 2 seconds to verify signatures on by-mail ballots is now going to take us closer to 20 to 30 seconds. And that's based on the new requirement requiring the last 4 of either your social security number, your Utah ID, Utah driver's license to be added to the backs of the by-mail affidavit envelopes. Our last approved staffing increase, as some of you might remember, was in 2020. Since then, demands on elections have intensified substantially. To manage these requirements and implement the new unfunded laws, we are requesting 6 FTEs, a senior manager, and 5 election coordinators. The staff will alleviate pressures on our current employees, ensure timely completion of ballot processing, and allow us to release results as expeditiously as possible. This total request is $628,000 approximately. Now let's talk about some of our successes this year. So our accomplishments. This past year, we processed over 6,300 signature packets on a referendum for House Bill 267. That was almost 190,000 signatures we reviewed during this process. We also executed interlocal agreements with municipalities and service districts in Salt Lake. We have just finished completing the 2025 primary election, and we will administer the general election this upcoming November, with ballots coming out on October 4th. We have currently approximately 600,000 active registered voters within Salt Lake County. And earlier this year, as you probably recall, we opened our doors to the state legislative auditors and proactively contracted with the EAC, Election Assistance Commission, accredited voting systems testing lab to undergo a comprehensive cybersecurity audit. We passed with flying colors, and the audit found that our election systems are both safe, secure, and set to tabulate correctly. So lastly, before I answer any questions, I understand that I understand acutely how my requests are felt throughout Salt Lake County. We are currently looking at the administrative revenue that we bring into the county to see if we can ensure that our services are continuing to be affordable and available to county residents while also adjusting for administrative costs. Can I answer any questions?
Questions from council?
I have a question. Yeah, and I'm so sorry to do this because I feel like it's a little bit off topic, but I understand there's some legislation, state legislation, that would require the county to pay the cost and do extra work to verify gathering signatures. And right now, the LG's office does it, so we don't pay that cost. I was a little bit worried because somebody testified and said that their county council members support this. And when I started running the numbers, it's going to cost us about $250,000 a year in general fund dollars if this comes to us. So I just wanted to double check with you and make sure all of our colleagues could hear what your thoughts are on that, because I think I understand the other 28 counties are opposed to this. I would think that we would want to be as well, because it's an unfunded mandate basically, but I just wondered if you could give us a brief update on that.
Sure. This was a bill I actually testified against during the last interim committee. It would require all the multi-county and statewide candidate packets to go to the county in which that voter resides. There's a few issues with it. One, a lot of the paper packets, which are primarily what we know, it's frankly all that we know here in Salt Lake County, we've never seen electronic packets yet, have sprinkled in lots of other residents from other counties, because when people come up to go see the Eccles, go see an amazing jazz game, or our new not Mammoths, or, you know, one of our off-Broadway shows, you'll see people outside asking for you to sign for a candidate that's statewide. And most people don't realize that currently those are handled by the state and under state resources take care of verifying those. With this new bill, it would then require an additional resources to be spent on the counties. So under that hypothetical I was telling you about, we would have a lot more signatures, and it's unclear currently if I would have to send those packets or somehow have the other counties where those people are coming into Salt Lake County to explore some of our amazing things, have them verify those signatures, or if I would have to invalidate those signatures. Either way, it's going to be costly and time intensive. Last year, a similar bill came up. Both UAC and all of the clerks opposed those bills.
Thanks.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I had a question. I haven't sat through the budget before, so first time. I guess I wonder how this budget request or expectation compares with last year's budget request. Is it about in line, or are there unexpected because of this bill passage, additional cost from year before? How does it fit in generally?
So again, during odd years, I am not the election official for the elections. We're able to pass through those costs, which we do under an ILAs with all the municipalities that we agree with. So all of the charges that I encumber to process elections this year will be passed through to all of the contracted municipalities and service districts. Next year, I am the election official, so we get to pay for all of the election services. I am asking for some FTEs, which I have not asked for, and our office hasn't asked for since 2020. And in large part, it's because of some of these larger bills that have been passed since 2020, but more specifically this past year. We've passed surface tension where with the current team I have, we can continue to be successful performing our statutory duties.
Thanks.
I should note, since Darren isn't here, that you do see every even year that you see this fluctuation that you normally don't see in budgets based on the additional cost of us administering the election. So we're sort of used in this budget rhythm to have it drop down in the odd years, go back up in the evening. We're aware of that and prepared for that.
Okay, any other questions from council? Okay.
Again, I'm going to send you an invitation to come do a tour of our system. Love to have you come and help out if you can. Come officiate some weddings. On average, we do 12 and a half weddings a day per calendar work day. So of course we don't do a half a wedding, but that's just how it comes out to. Love it if you would come and help us celebrate somebody's most special day. Come help us process ballots. We would love that all. Thank you for the time, and I really appreciate all of your help.
Someone online that would like to talk?
Yeah, this is Laurie. I just wanted you guys to know that it is not difficult to do the weddings. So I've actually gone in and done them, and they're really fascinating and fun to do. So take an opportunity and go down and help out.
Thank you for that comment. Yeah, thank you for all you do. And I agree, if you have time to go officiate some weddings. I mean, the one that I was there for actually was, we had to use an interpreter for sign language. So it wasn't as easy as that one, but it was actually really special. So it was a great time. And the whole process of just going through processing ballots and audits. I mean, I think I've done every process of it. It's very secure. So it's interesting to see that process and to know that it's working. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to 7.8, informational presentation of the Salt Lake County Auditor's Office. Our auditor, Chris Harding, welcome.
Thank you, council, for having me. I was going to bring my laptop and run this PowerPoint, but apparently my laptop doesn't interact good with the HDMI cable, so going back.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I need some help replacing my debit card for my
Salt Lake County Auditor's Office. I'm Chris Harding. I'm the county auditor.
I see an option to replace my debit card for a
Down.
second joint account that I have on mine.
There we go.
Like
All right.
Primary.
So why our office exists? Two main reasons is we perform independent audits. I think that's key to make sure you understand independent. This is separate from independently elected. This is independent in the fact that we're not part of these organizations. When we do an audit on Parks and Rec or the mayor's office or the council, we don't perform any functions in those offices. We are completely separate and independent. Therefore, we provide an objective and
No, I see the account online.
opinion and report on what we find and the testing that we do. The second is our tax division. We
It doesn't have
are
it.
part of the Property Tax Administration that we provide various pieces of information, the notice of valuation that you receive in the mail each year, letting you know what the various taxing entities are doing. And so those are our two main components. Our team is made up of the executive team, that's myself, my chief deputy, Richard Yowsey, and our senior advisor, Ross Rogers. And we have our audit division led by our division administrator with 12 employees, the tax division with 10 employees and a division administrator, and then our admin and fiscal manager who oversees a half-time employee. So our budget is pretty straightforward. A little over half of our funding comes from the general fund that funds the audit side of our shop, plus a divvied up amount for the executive team and the fiscal and admin, and then the remaining amount funds our tax administration fund. And with that, I'll hand it over to my chief deputy and the chair of the Diet Coke Caucus, Richard Yowsey.
Lost.
Okay, some of this you've heard in our last presentation, but I want to start with breaking news. It's not up here. We discovered last year we had an issue where people were not showing up to their hearings. So they filed an appeal, they have a scheduled hearing with the hearing officer, and they don't show because people forget. So we reached out to IT and said, we got this crazy idea. Can we send text notifications reminding them? And as of today, we got the go-ahead that everything looks great. We're going to have a text notification a week before their hearing and 2 days before. So kind of like when you go to Discount Tire or the dentist, you get those text notifications. So IT's been a great partner in these crazy ideas we have. And another one we've talked about a little bit is you can look up online where your appeal is. The BOE process goes all the way from September to March. And in the middle of that, you have a tax bill. So people sometimes are like, I've got to pay my taxes. I haven't had my hearing. We're hoping to let people see a little bit more on their own without calling us to find out where their appeal is. We've improved processes with the state tax commission. If you aren't happy with what you guys as the County Board of Equalization decide, you appeal to the state. Well, to appeal to the state, you've got to file with our office. So we've worked in conjunction with the State Tax Commission to streamline and make it so they get the information quicker and in a format that's easier for them to do what they need to do because they are way behind. And then we've talked about Taurus already. Other things is we've really started to digitize our records. It was good timing with talk of moving to the new building. We were like, we're not going to have all this room to store all this paper that nobody's going to look for, but digitizing, we've still got it available.
At least the one I go to.
And a lot of that is exemption requests. And we've highlighted specifically the LDS Church because if you were to take a stack of all the LDS Church applications and all the other applications, they're about the same. So there's a lot, and if you think about it, you'll see this on a lot of your BOEs.
It must have been.
There may be an apartment that the church owns that's a missionary housing 1 year, not missionary housing. Well, that fluctuates on whether they're exempt or not, and that's a whole new paperwork.
Okay.
Time tracking, we've been able to look for efficiencies and bottlenecks in our office. It's helped us tremendously to see as the workflow is progressing. And then the BOE survey, where you've seen the results in our BOE annual report, where we let appellants tell us what their experience was. We've changed processes. We've worked closely with your office's tax administration on some of the survey results. Some of our challenges, when we did this presentation, it was looking like our appeal count was going to be double from last year. Knock on wood, we don't think that's where we're going to end up. What kind of made it look like that is we are doing intake faster than we did in years prior. We've talked about our Taurus rollout. Another challenge is we rely heavily on IT. There's a lot of reports that we need. We can't run them ourselves. We've talked about that with mainframes. So it's just a lot of what we do, we need IT to deliver to us that information. Other challenges, there was the state audit of property tax about 2 years ago, and it's resulted in changes to the notice of valuation. If we have more entities, Councilmember Stewart heard we're talking about taxes, so he ran down.
Actually heard you were wearing a Christmas sweater, so that's why he wanted to write down.
And Green Bay
So
Packer
the
shoes,
new
Sheldon.
bin will be just right on the car.
Okay.
or-
Yeah, so the notice evaluation has had to change. We've had to add new information. If we have more entities go out for a tax increase this next year, we might even have to change to a letter size versus legal size instead of letter size. They're adding more requirements there. TIF, tax
No,
increment
that's good.
financing,
Thank
the
you.
laws
You
are
explained
constantly
everything.
changing.
Appreciate it.
But not only do we have those areas, we
Right.
have all these new fun ones like HTRZ,
Yep.
Fair Park, Point of the Mountain.
All right, thank you.
The convention center.
Bye.
That's a lot of specialized calculations that, like we said earlier, our office is grateful that Stuart's here to understand all of those. What keeps us up at night, so we calculate, like I said earlier, about $2 billion worth of taxes. And that's not just Salt Lake County. That's money that goes to the school districts, the cities, but we calculate that. And I don't know if you saw in the paper or in the news, my home county had a little glitch where they miscalculated. They had to send out new notices. If they caught it early enough that they were able to rectify it, but if they hadn't, like for example, Provo School District would have probably had to dip into their fund balances about $3 million to cover, because it was a miscalculation. So that definitely keeps us up at night. We have several redundancies, several people reviewing those calculations, and we work really hard to take our time and make sure we get it right. Specialized knowledge, we're trying not to have people siloed and just the only person that knows how functions work. We're trying to do it across our division so that there's not just one point. I hate the term point of failure. I can't think of even the word because I hate it so much, but point of failure. But we don't want anything to be held up, like if somebody's sick, goes out on leave, suddenly we can't do our job. We've talked about the aging IT system. And then a new one is the truth in taxation laws have added a new level of compliance. If you saw in the news, several entities went out for a tax increase and were denied by the State Tax Commission because they did not comply with all the requirements. State Tax Commission has asked us and all the auditors across the state, we do a first glance of if we think entities met those requirements or not and let them know, and it's ultimately up to the State Tax Commission, but that is a concern. I know truth in taxation is very painful. Some of these school districts went out to double their taxes and did not do it right and have to go back and make cuts. So that's what keeps us up at night in tax.
Thanks, Richard. So on with the audit division. Some of our successes this year, we've issued so far 11 full audits. These are GAGAS compliant audits that meet the auditing standards required by the generally accepted governmental auditing standards. The PCI memo that we issue each year, that's the payment card industry memo, just to help the departments out that are taking payment cards know which ones are on time and which ones aren't. We are a significant way through our 2025 audit plan. And then our follow-ups, it's like the second leg of the audits. If we just do audits and leave it there and there's no follow-up, there's no accountability for us to report on of how the entities are doing. So we've issued 11 follow-up audits this year. Those don't necessarily tie right to the audits. They might be for older audits that we performed. And then our fraud report. So each fraud referral we get, and some of these fraud referrals, as I've mentioned in the past, it might be someone's driving by a park and they see the sprinklers on at night and they get home and they get on our fraud referral hotline and let us know that the county sprinklers are on, well, probably during the daytime is when they mostly complain, but it might not even be a county facility. So but each call, each referral that we get for the fraud hotline, we track it and make sure that we're accountable for where it goes. Those that don't really fit into our realm or that we're going to look at, we send to Like for instance, if it was the sprinklers, we might send it off to Parks and Recreation. But if it's something we're going to actually look at and that we will investigate, we'll report that in this fraud report as well. Some other successes that we've had. So when I first started in February of 22, there were 2 individuals, including myself, that had professional certifications. Today, we have a handful of certified fraud examiners, certified internal auditors, and we have 2 employees that are halfway through their CPAs. So we've probably tripled the amount of people with professional certifications in our office. CPE compliance, this is continuing professional education. Again, when you're not doing your audits and following a standard, it's easy for these things to fall by the wayside, but our continuing professional education is 100% in compliance with GAGAS. And what that means is each auditor is required to have, on a rolling 2-year period, 80 hours of continuing professional education with no year less than 20. So we're meeting that standard. We've had some pretty stable staffing for 2025, which is nice. Anytime you're not spending your resources and your auditing hours training people and introducing them to people in the county and getting them used to the departments and the acronyms that we have, and they can just focus on the audit work, it helps to speed it up. And then our fraud hotline, we've had several huge successes over the last year where more and more people are aware of the fraud hotline, they're making use of it, and it's not just referrals about sprinklers, it's legitimate referrals that we're getting about fraud, waste, and abuse that we investigate, and that in turn helps to benefit the county by making those critical improvements. Some of the challenges, so capacity. So we are tasked with auditing a budget of $1.5 to $2 billion, depending on if we're talking about the pass-throughs. But we have a relatively small audit team. Although we have 28.5 employees in our office, including the executive team, the number of auditors is just 2 teams of 5 each, so 10 auditors auditing everything that's in the county. We can't look at everything, and we have to be selective and prioritize where we think the highest risks are. Capacity isn't just about the number of staff, it's the time, the tools, and the reach. Sometimes I'm asking myself, as we get into our what keeps us up at night, is what's happening in the blind spots, the places we don't have the capacity to audit. Responsiveness. So another challenge, auditing takes time. Weeks or even months to test, to validate, and document findings. Again, we are required by statute to perform all of our audits in accordance with the Yellow Book, the Generally Accepted Governmental Auditing Standards. Meanwhile, county operations move quickly, and the leadership, when we identify issues in an audit, they often want a resolution. They want our feedback quickly, and we recognize that, but we have processes that we need to follow. That gap between the speed of operations and the slower, more deliberate pace of auditing can create a little bit of frustrations. I feel like we're alleviating some of that. We're trying to communicate more with our auditees. We have agreements to the facts meetings at the end of our audit, so we're not just issuing a report and blindsiding the auditee, that we're kind of have a meeting of the minds in that agreement to the facts meetings where we discuss our findings, how our auditors arrived at those conclusions, and then making sure that if we've missed anything, that we're able to review and change and update our audit reports. The challenge is to be thorough enough to be credible, but timely enough to be useful so that our work has an impact when decisions are being made. All right, so Richard created this because I wouldn't wear a Christmas sweater. So what keeps us up at night? Again, as I mentioned before, just all the areas that we don't have the resources to audit. The Association of Certified Fraud Examiners estimates that across the range globally, organizations lose about 5% of their budget to fraud, waste, and abuse. Again, if you're thinking about that in terms of county dollars, that's $75 to $100 million. I wish we could say that we're able to identify that much, but we're not, which statistically, if you think, okay, we're nowhere near that, we're 100 times better than that, we're still not identifying all that. A year ago, when was it a different council a year ago? Yeah, a year ago, when we were making our audit reports, if you think about it, some members talking about, oh, yeah, okay, your audit report says this, but overall the county's doing fine. And we may be doing fine. I think let me back up. The county does a really good job, but we can't know what we don't know. The fraud that we found at the Kearns Daycare Center was one of those that was happening at this time. I am sure there is something going on in the county at this time. And those are the things that keep us up, the blind spots, the fact that we can't look at everything. But then there's also the lessons. Our audit reports don't stick around. Just like the news, it comes and goes. Our audit recommendations, it might make a splash in the news, but people are quick to forget. And management, they're not auditors. They have a job to do as well. The sheriff's department has to keep the bad guys in jail. The treasurer has to pay the bills. The auditors, we're the only ones standing around saying, oh, what about the fraud, waste, and abuse that might be out there? So that's one of the things that keeps us up is that quick propensity to forget lessons learned, and then just realizing that one preventable scandal can undo years of work and damage the confidence in our great county government. Because I do think we do a great job. May not have sounded like it before, but really, as we go out and audit, I've said this before, as we have findings, there's other entities throughout the state where it is a battle. They butt heads, and in the county, the prevailing sentiment is help us out, point out where we can do a better job, and then as soon as we do that, they are quick to jump all over it and make improvements. And I'm really impressed as the auditor with that. Oh yeah, of course, there's another one. Our staff is awesome. I appreciate the hard work they do. Sometimes it can be a thankless job, getting in there and getting into people's business and asking them, okay, yeah, you showed me that, but now prove it. And with that, that's our office. I'd love to field any questions you might have.
All right, questions?
Yep, Madam Chair, thank you for the work you do. I've said that before. I assume you're talking with other auditors from around the nation and in an association, and so hopefully you're learning from them about some of the things they might be finding in their audits, and we're taking that back and reviewing that here. So you're shaking your head. I'm glad to see that. I think that's a good practice, and maybe will help us find things we hadn't thought of ourselves.
Definitely, council member. Thank you. That we are part of the Association of Local Government Auditors, and we participate in a wonderful peer review program with them. In fact, one of our audit managers, Brenda Nelson, just last week, that's where she was in California, performing a peer review for an audit shop out there. And yeah, she comes back and she's got a wealth of information where we haven't yet, but we sit down and debrief her, and she kind of goes over and says, hey, look at all these great ideas, and this is how this audit shop operates. Yeah, we try and get out on peer reviews once or twice a year, and that helps our shop. And then they come and do a peer review on our shop every 3 years. Our first one was in '24. Our next one will be in the FY '27. So yes, we do. Thank you. Good question.
Okay, any other questions for our auditor? All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving along. Next up, 7.9, informational presentation of the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office. And our Sheriff, Rosie Rivera, welcome.
Is this already on? Okay. So thank you for having us. This is going to be quite the long presentation, but we have a very large organization, so I'm going to try and do the best I can to not take too much of your time. What do you need? Yeah, I have it. Okay, so we're just going to get started, and then if you have questions along the way, feel free to ask. With me today, I have our fiscal administrator, Zach Stolball. I also have up here Karita Lucy, who is our HR director for the Sheriff's Office. I also have my chiefs, Chief Jason Ackerman from the Law Enforcement Bureau, Chief Matt DeMont from Corrections, and also Chief Carrie Huth, who is over the Public Safety Bureau, and behind me is the Undersheriff Cynthia Archuleta, who really is my right and my left hand. So we have them, and then we also have our deputy chiefs in the audience, and they're here in the event I can't answer any of the questions that you have, but hopefully I'll be able to answer those. So we're just going to go really quickly. I am clicking. Hold on.
Might be too far, so I'll go through it.
Okay. So I know this is really difficult to see. This is the org chart. Now, if I really did a full org chart of the sheriff's office, it is much larger. But this one, it's broken down by the office as a whole. So Salt Lake County Sheriff, and directly under me is Human Resources, and also my Executive Secretary and our Communications Director, Hannah Gorski. And then under the Undersheriff, she works more with our fiscal department. And then we have it broken down with our Corrections Bureau, all of our different housing and our facilities and health services, our Law Enforcement Bureau, all of the different divisions there, and then our Public Safety Bureau. And I think you all have a copy of this. So it's quite a big organization. Like I said, if we did the whole org chart, it wouldn't even fit on 10 pages of this. But the next, yeah, it might be too far, so you'll have to do it. The next slide is our budget, and these are for the Sheriff's Office as a whole. It's $188,881,662.
I can do it.
We have 716 sworn. We have 361 civilians, 7 time-limited positions, a half of a part-time, and then with our vacancies, so total we have 1,195 personnel. We do have vacancies, and that's 110 vacancies. With those vacancies, 69 of them are sworn, or out of corrections, and 3 are out of our Public Safety Bureau. We do have 3 also out of our Law Enforcement Bureau. So the majority of the 76 vacancies that are sworn come from corrections. You can go to the next slide. So with our operation challenges, so we've done this in a unique way because this page is the Sheriff's Office as a whole, but we are going to break it down for you to go through every division in the Sheriff's Office. One of the challenges that, and we keep talking about this, is the legislative changes. They do create uncertainty in our future staffing needs, our future funding as well. And also staffing shortages, they do create an operations challenge for us. And then also maintaining readiness for crises and emergencies. That is some of the challenges that we deal with as a whole office. And then budgets, it's the compensation. We talk about this all year long. I know we come to you when we do hit a wall. Sometimes when, I know last year an example was we had a hard time hiring nurses, and we came to the council and we asked for additional funding. We were supported by the mayor's office as well. So we just, want to recognize that, that we have been supported. It's just always going to be a challenge with law enforcement for compensation and for our civilian employees as well. And then also limited funds restrict us from obtaining specialized training and staff development. And many times it's hard to know because you don't know what the costs are going to be for the next year with all the changing dynamics with law enforcement. And again, another challenge is rising costs for dispatch equipment, our subscriptions that we have to have, and then technology changes are consistently becoming one of our biggest challenges. And then again, our high turnover requires constant recruitment and training efforts across the Corrections and Public Safety Bureau. This time last year, though, I do want to say the Public Safety Bureau, we were down significantly. Our HR division and county HR both worked really hard to get those numbers changed. And if you can see that the vacancies, we have 3 vacancies now. So a lot of work was done. We want to thank those individuals who helped us get there. And then our shared services, those are funded across multiple bureau budgets. One of the things that when we brought the Law Enforcement Bureau back to the Sheriff's Office, we started looking at that shared service component where we have a training, individuals in corrections doing training, individuals in Public Safety Bureau doing training, individuals who were in Law Enforcement Bureau doing training. We have taken all that and combined it. And I think that we are more efficient that way, but we want to also see if we are saving money that way as well, because we're bringing those resources together. So we're still working on that. There's a lot of budgets that we're going to be bringing during the budget process to you for consolidation, and that will include our training, our range staff, our internal affairs, our IT. Those are just examples of some of the budgets we're trying to combine rather than have each individual in each bureau. Some of the things that keep us up at night as a whole is really the security risks to our community. They continue to grow, and sometimes it is reflecting on what happens nationally that happens here. And it just keeps us up at night wondering at what ball is going to drop next. So we really want to make sure that we're up to date on everything. And then this last couple of years, one of the things that have kept us up at night is unreliable radio and communication systems. And this isn't just for the Sheriff's Office, this is law enforcement as a whole. A few years back, the legislature made a decision that we would all be on one radio system, and we have been challenged every day in trying to get that system to work for all of us. So that is something that keeps us up every night, wondering if you're going to have radio communications. We have had radio communications go down in the jail, and it is a serious event for us. So those are things that we have to stay up on. And then the increase of the illegal drug trends. When I just went to this conference this past week, across the nation, they are seeing cocaine back, meth back, fentanyl for sure. It is such a national problem, but we see it here in Utah, and so we have to stay up on those things. But that really does create a challenge for us, and it keeps us up at night. But also, recently we had one of our deputies who had a fentanyl exposure and ended up having to go to the hospital for that exposure. We were lucky, but it could have been something really serious, and so that keeps us up at night as a whole agency. And then I'm only going to focus on a couple of successes here, because throughout this presentation, there are several successes I'll talk about. We believe our success has been our new recruitment strategies. Our HR has worked really hard on getting more and more applicants. We currently have an academy class for corrections with 40 new cadets. Hopefully, they all make it through the academy, and that will help with our vacancies. And then also, one of the biggest successes was bringing the Law Enforcement Bureau back, which was a huge task. And if you can just think about the records department that UPD had, they were managing the sheriff's office records from years and years and years ago. And then we had to bring all of that back and take over that again. And then also add to the current sheriff's office. So that was a big task. There were some other things, the negotiations that we had to do. We really owe the district attorney's office thanks, not just Bridget, Ralph, Ryan and Kendall. I'm just saying their first names because I'm trying to hurry if we don't have a lot of time, but they know who they are. We couldn't have done that without their help. It was a big task. We are up and running, and now we're integrating the Law Enforcement Bureau with the other two bureaus, and we're becoming better because of it. Next slide, please. This slide talks about the human resources in our fiscal department, the two budgets. Also, it does indicate how many FTEs we have. So we have 7 in our HR division and 29 in our fiscal division. And there's a lot that goes on with this. Our HR, we do work with county HR a lot, and I really want to thank Sharon and Stephanie and all the other members of the county HR because they work closely with Carita, and it's a daily thing with HR. But with these FTEs, they spend most of their time trying to recruit, get people hired, do background checks, applications. There's physical fitness that they have to pass. So there's a lot that goes into hiring sworn. And then also we have our civilian process too. And many times that's a challenge with the civilians to get them all on board. And again, the challenge is having compensation that matches the outside world. We lose a lot of people to the outside, and I know you've heard that multiple times, so I'm not going to harp on that too much. So next slide, please, is the Public Safety Bureau. We have 150 FTEs with 3 vacancies currently. Under this org chart, we do have the Executive Protection Unit under Chief Huth, and then we have a captain, office coordinator, and then we have the 3 different divisions: facilities, protection, judicial protection, and the civil unit. And you can go to the next. So this is their total budget is $19,198,173. This does not include the shared service piece, so it doesn't include the HR, the IT, the things that we are sharing together. So that will be reflected elsewhere in this presentation. And we've broke it out by each unit, so make it easier so you can see what the cost is there. Then on this slide, next, oh, okay, that's right. The operation challenges that we have are the current Special Functions Officer, SFO. That is what our Public Safety Bureau are made of. That is what the certification is. This limits what they can do. They really have to stay focused within a facility that they're working to have law enforcement authority, and it's challenging to use them in any other area. So we're currently working on legislation to change that so we can use them in a more efficient way. We have met with the chiefs from the local agencies here in Salt Lake County. They are on board with changing it. They also have some challenges with their officers who are SFO certified but can't be LEO certified because currently the EVO range is not available for all law enforcement. It's very limited, so the Utah Department of Public Safety is doing a proposal to try to get a new range, and that will get more officers into that range. But the chiefs of police are for this legislation, and then we're also in contact with the other sheriffs who we believe will support the legislation to change it as well, so we can just use them more efficiently. We still won't give them the LEO certification, but it will help with being able to utilize them in other areas. And then the other operational challenge that we have, and you'll see that when we present our budget, is right now we have 145 staff, 12 contracts, and 16 facilities across the valley, and we only have one captain. So what our budget request is to give us one additional captain, and then it'll be 2 captains for the 145 FTEs, which isn't unreasonable when you're thinking about liability and duties and how much work goes into supervising those individuals. The budget challenge is always Public Safety Bureau compensation. And that is a challenge. We have tried to find another agency that is similar to our model with Public Safety Bureau, but there's not a lot out there. And I know there was some, I believe, legend for county HR to go out and take a look at that. And I do believe it was challenging for them as well to try to find what compensation should be. So we still hope that at some point we're going to be able to really identify that, but the challenge is that certification. And across the nation, there are not that many departments built like this. So what keeps us up at night with the Public Safety Bureau is that 65% of our sworn members have less than 5 years. And a lot of that has to do with that vacancy rate. You know, we're down 26, we hire, then they go to another police agency, and then we start all over again. So it's a training ground for law enforcement, but it does keep us up at night when you don't have a lot of experience working in that profession. And then the safety and security of the employees and our constituents keeps us up at night, and that is across the board. Some of the successes that the Public Safety Bureau has had is the safety and safely managing the court security. With some of the changes with 312, it created more inmate management, and that has impacted the courts too. So they are having to manage more people going to court, and they've been able to do that. And it's been very impressive what the Public Safety Bureau has been able to do. Then the next slide, please, is the Facility Protection Division. And they protect basically all the Salt Lake County buildings and their staff and the visitors. And some of the divisions of facilities is Animal Services, Arts and Culture, Bravenel Hall, Capitol Theater, Clark Planetarium, Eccles, Rose Wagner, the Coliseum, courthouses, Matheson, West Jordan Courthouse, Salt Lake County Justice Court, the DA's office, the Government Center, and Public Works. So they do a lot on that facility protection piece. One of the challenges is the political tensions, heightened security concerns in government buildings. That's across the nation, but we're seeing it here in Salt Lake County as well. Successes, centralized staffing improved our FTE efficiency at downtown facilities. And then also we've increased safety and reduced crime at the downtown senior centers. We've strengthened election security in partnership with the county clerk through the ballot pickup, secure transport, and security during the ballot counting. And I really feel that we've worked so close with the clerk's office that we want to ensure that they are safe during this process because it's so important. But I think that the partnership that we now have, we took that over when we did the split with UPD, and it has really worked out very well for us. We can go to the next. The next is a Judicial Protection Division, and it really just provides bailiff services and security at our courthouses. There is a high volume of inmate management and patron screenings. Could be up to 200 on a busy day that come in, and these are just the inmates from the jail being transported for court. And for patron screenings, it can be up to 1,700 people coming into the courthouse every day. So a lot goes on in these courts, and our deputies are doing a great job. But it becomes one of our biggest challenges is it continues to increase. How much more is it going to increase for us with the staffing that we currently have? So right now, we are not asking for additional staffing for that, but we'll just keep you updated as we go. And then the state does reimburse some bailiff services. Every year, the sheriffs are at the legislature trying to get more money for court services, for bailiff services. And they do set the rates, but it doesn't cover the full cost for court security. So we'll be up at the legislature again with the other sheriffs and trying to increase those costs. And then some of the successes is managing the high-profile hearings while ensuring the safety of judges, patrons, and staff amid rising caseloads. And some of these high-profile hearings can be very dangerous. Many of them, are either gang cases or violent crime cases, RICO cases where it's an entire gang. Those become very dangerous, not just in the court setting, but transporting inmates. And it requires all of them just to come together and stay focused on our mission and keeping people safe. You can go to the next. Next one is our civil unit. This is really serving the courts, and we did a presentation recently with the council, so I know you're familiar with that, and also with the increase in the civil papers. We took this back from UPD probably 3 or 4 years ago, and we've been able to manage it very well. The challenge that we do have is the daily mileage on the cars, having to go out and serve papers. It does take a toll. It does wear and tear on the vehicles, and then the high work demands in serving civil papers. And also protective orders and judgments and subpoenas. So there's a lot that goes on there. One of the successes that we did have, we upgraded to fuel-efficient Camrys, avoiding the need for additional fuel funding. And then we've also implemented new processes for serving civil papers after returning to the sheriff's office. So we do believe that some of the changes that we have made there are making us more efficient. So we think that's a success. You can go to the next. The executive protection. So it provides personal security for county elected officials in scenarios where the risk may be elevated. The challenge is it's a 2-detective detail, must often balance protecting multiple principles at the same time. Political tensions increase protection demands, and then budget, whether we have the budget one year or not. And right now it is in the budget. We are in discussions to make some changes there with the risk assessment. And you'll see that in our budget as well. So that will be coming your way. I probably wouldn't spend too much time on that until we do our presentation on that. Okay, the next one. Let me get a drink here. I'm trying to go as fast as I can because when I get to corrections, you guys are just going to go, wow. And then I hope you asked Matt Demont a question because I did tell him to have a joke just in case. So, okay, so the Law Enforcement Bureau, this is the bureau that we brought back from the UPD. And we're really happy we brought it back, but it hasn't. It's been a big challenge, especially to negotiate the assets from UPD has been a never-ending battle, but it's over finally. Bridget's nodding her head going, yes, I do thank the DA's office that they did.
It's not
And
just
our own
Bridget
staff.
nodding her head.
Yes.
We got to this point.
And then with this, or let me just, because I want to point out that we have a chief deputy who oversees the whole law. We have what we call a deputy. That's Chief Van Rack, and you've met him before because as a secondary assignment, security chief position. That was the only place to get it in, and to be tasked, as you know, over 300 schools that we have to be responsible for training all of these guardians, and each school needs to have 2 guardians, and so it's going to be a lot of training. He did his presentation earlier this last month, so you would understand kind of where we're at with that. Then we also have professional standards, and LEB, we have 1 lieutenant and 2 deputies, but other FTEs that are assigned to professional standards, so you couldn't just do it with 3 people. We have another lieutenant, 5 more sergeants, 7 deputies. This is for the entire office, so this includes our training, our range, our internal affairs. And just so you know, the academy classes, they're 13 weeks, usually about 40 people. That takes a lot of work to put on. It never ends. We do 4 a year. We graduate them and start all over again. So it's a big project. Then tech support. We've also moved folks over from the corrections side over to our tech support. So we have 1 captain, 17 civilians who are records for the LEB, but then we also have 8 civilians who do records for corrections and 1 lieutenant that oversees all of it. And one of the things I do want to point out, when we moved back from UPD, the records were challenging. These folks took that task on, and under Lieutenant Kathy Barrett, they were able to make it work, and it was like seamlessly. It was unbelievable. We really thought that was going to be our biggest task, but she took that on, and we were able to move all those records back to the sheriff's office. And then our special ops division, we have 1 captain, 1 lieutenant, 3 sergeants, 17 deputies, 2 civilians. And then we also have Slovisa funded positions, 3 sergeants and 14 deputies. Most of these include the Canyon Patrol. We do have 2 full-time SWAT officers that are assigned to special ops as well. And they spend most of their time in either a patrol function or a tactical function. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything on my slide. Okay, I don't have anything on that slide. So, and then we have our investigations. So one of the things that we did with the investigations unit, we combined all of our units together. So with Unified, we had, you have your folks who investigate sex crimes, you have your homicide detectives, you have your fraud detectives, all these gamut of different types of things that need to be investigated. We combined them all under this one division. So, and that's more for efficiencies and to help us with the manpower. So sometimes you need that just to be able to, when you have something big go down, you need more experienced officers. So that does help with that. And currently we have 3 vacancies with the LEB that are deputies, and then we have a vacancy in our special ops and 1 vacancy in our civilians. So when you are looking at the investigations, I'm going to go through them a little bit more. I'll break it down for you just a little bit, so it'll make more sense as we go. Next slide. Oh, you're already there. Okay, their overall budget, let me put my glasses back on, is $25,755,536. So, and again, that does not include the shared office services because they're all combined into one budget now. Every bureau has their own budgets, but that's what we're doing is consolidating. You can go to the next. The operations challenges for the LEB are several things, but of course the radio system that I already talked about has been one of the biggest challenges is having service in those canyon areas. We have to have that. We have talked to Utah Communications Authority about it. They understand the challenges. All of the police agencies have talked with them. We're working with them, but it still is not up to par. So that's one of our biggest challenges right now is having the radios work for us out in the field. And this is strictly just for the Law Enforcement Bureau, but I'll talk about that when we get to corrections as well. And then our budget challenges, we had a startup cost to start over again, and that was challenging. And thank you to our council for supporting us in making that happen. We couldn't have done it without your support and Mayor Wilson's support, so we do want to say thank you. And then another challenge is specialized training often requires out-of-state travel. So we're always looking for travel somewhere out of state to get trained in specialized units. And it does help because we can come back and train others. And so that's a challenge that we have. And then the other challenge is technology. And as we left the UPD, we came to the sheriff's office, and the company that we got our tasers from, the tasers we currently have are going to be obsolete. So now we need to buy new systems. So that's part of why we're moving things for all three bureaus together, so we can make that big purchase for all the tasers for the whole office rather than one bureau purchasing and another bureau. This is going to bring it all together. But that really is a huge cost. And we anticipate it will be $1.5 million at least just to buy new tasers. But we can't have those tools if they don't work. And that's part of the challenge. And what keeps us up at night is safety and security of the community, our employees and our county officials. We're seeing what's going on across the country, and it keeps us up every night. Some of our successes, we launched the new LEB, so the Law Enforcement Bureau, July 1st, 2024. That was a huge success for us. We also had a homicide shortly after we launched. With that homicide, we're able to make the arrest fairly quickly. Still dealing with some of the aftermath of that homicide, because sometimes when you have juveniles are the perpetrators, the suspect, arrestees in this, it takes some time. And how are we going to do more prevention with these juveniles to stop them from committing these homicides?